JR?
Oh, good. Miss South Dakota is. Can't get it open.
Dave Burris. Dave, would you like to address the council? You have anything you want to say to him?
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, most of you know me, those of you who don't.
Can the public hear him? Barely?
Talk into that mic.
Up close and personal.
How's that? Can you hear me back there?
Very good.
Yes.
Council, Mr. Mayor, most of you know me, those of you don't. My name's David Burris. I have served several terms on council. Last term that I had, I did not take just due to health reasons and needed to take care of myself. More than willing to do this, take this position if you consider me. Private business person, those of you who might not know me out in the public, private business person, own 2 different businesses in this town. Still have an industrial agricultural business in California and also run cattle in Missouri. I don't know really what to say. I'm willing to take up my old position all over again, pick up where we were, and I'm pretty cut and dry. Most everybody that knows me knows I go by the facts and by the numbers. And whatever experience I have in certain things, I'm more than willing to share. Open-minded to anything coming from the public or the council, but it really comes down to what's best for the community is how I make my decisions. With that being said, there's not really much more for me to say. Thank you.
Hang on, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Do any of you have questions for me?
I don't have any questions for you, Dave. You and I spent an hour or 2 talking about council and what's before us, so I appreciate you considering putting your letter of interest in again, and appreciate what you've done on the council in the past.
Well, thank you. Willing to do it again if so needed. But if we have somebody that you feel that is better suited for the position than I am, there will be no hard feelings whatsoever. I would like to make that known.
Is there anything in particular, any goals that you see the city should be focusing on going forward?
Well, being I've been off for a while, I would like to, before I would answer that, I'd like to see what we have coming up and what is best suited. I do have one question though. Did we come up with a census for our police officer that serves at the school? Did we ever come up with any ideas to keep him on and to move forward?
We approved a 1-year agreement a couple meetings ago.
Good enough, good enough. That was something that I really was kind of hoping we would not lose. The more contact that the young ones have with the police force, I think will be a betterment to our community. So, any other questions you guys might have?
So my question for you, Dave, is, understanding why you didn't run the last time, do you have any expectation that you would not be able to fill this 1-year term?
Well, to be totally honest with you, I feel the best I have in probably 8 years. My doctors have taken me off a lot of medications that I've been on for a long time, but I do let it be known, I do have only half of a heart, so, and any one of us can drop at any point in time. So I'm not going to make promises that I won't go away without a goodbye, but at the same time, I'll give it everything I got until we're done.
You look a lot better than when you left us.
Probably my worst. I know.
Well, you say you only have half a heart. It's better than being accused of not having any
Well,
heart
it's better
at
than
all.
a dark spot there.
All right. Anyone else?
we worked together a few times on some issues, and I appreciate your candid response. We may not have gotten along or agreed at a couple of times, but I appreciate your comments, and thank you for applying again. It means a lot to us.
This community's been good for me and my family. I chose to move here because of the things we have in this town. And yes, I took a big cut in pay when I was younger to move here, because I've been here now 30 years. But I am most happy being here. If I was chasing money or anything like that, obviously I would be gone. But money doesn't make a person happy. It's what you find in your life. And the best thing to make yourself happy is to create a community around you that's happy and thrive. So with that being said, yeah, I'd always be willing to come back to the council. I'd always be willing to do anything to help the council, even if I'm not on it. So I appreciate the good words. And I'll have to be honest, this council was one of the best. My last council was the best council I'd ever served with. I think there's a few of you on there that know exactly what I'm talking about, because we had been around for a long time. So I appreciate you all very much.
And be honest, you missed me both.
But no, I appreciate the fact that you'd even consider having me back, being it was my choice not to run. But like I said, the only reason I didn't run, and I said it in public at a meeting, the only reason I didn't run was I had to take care of myself, because if I can't give my all, then I don't need to be involved. So that is just the way it works.
If your answer to Craig's question is yes, I think that raises questions about your competency. So.
With that, unless there's another question?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Bob, is there anything you'd like to say to the council?
My name is Bob Sprinthal. I'm relatively new to the community. I only moved here in 2017. Again, I chose to move here. Number one, because of the community. Number two, because of my family. I spent 34 years with the USDA Forest Service, of which 16 years of that was in Chadron, Nebraska, just south of here. And during that time, I find a lot of commonalities of people in the community here in Hot Springs and also in Chadron. At that time, then from Chadron, I moved over to Douglas, Wyoming. I was a district ranger in Douglas, Wyoming, and worked a lot with the mineral companies over there. 20% of the nation's coal came from the Thunder Basin National Grassland. So I had to deal with government regulations, coal mining regulations, and all the bureaucratic stuff with the government. My entire life, though, basically, since with the Forest Service, I've been living in small communities. Silver Lake, Oregon, population 50. Yampa, Colorado, population 350. Well, of course, Chadron, Nebraska, we lived in Yampa, Colorado. Again, population of about 350 people. So I'm used to living and working in small communities, and I just see the opportunities. The reason why I chose here, the opportunities that Hot Springs has, as far as looking at bringing in younger people, maintaining what we have, looking at the assets that we have and what we have to offer for the individuals that are here, and how can we look at the growth of Hot Springs, because my main concern is looking at the number of younger families and our population of our schools declining as far as enrollment, and what we're looking at there. I'm concerned about the VA Center. Now we're looking at that. I look back that when Ellsworth Air Force Base was on the chopping block, do we want that to happen to the VA Center here? How can we work with state and federal government on that? So with that, any questions from the council? Number one, I'd just like to say thank you for considering my letter of consideration.
Council?
If you knew what we had in our budgeting system and the way things are going, and not being a lot of money to be able to pass out to each one of our departments, which area would you like to see more attention to than others?
I think we have to look at the infrastructure of our community, roads, water, sewer. We have to look at housing as another issue, looking at economic development. And, not only for, businesses coming in to provide jobs for, the younger population, but how can we maintain what we already have and providing the facilities, for those individuals. So I'm looking at those issues primarily.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Bob, a year or so ago, I was on an email string with the mayor and you, and we were trying to set up a face-to-face meeting on another issue. Are you fully retired? I don't want to get into your business deeper.
Yes, I'm fully retired.
Okay, so if I remember right, and if I'm remembering wrong, I apologize. You were doing some consulting work in Colorado?
Yes. I go back and forth to Colorado, mainly in the wintertime because we do downhill ski. And at the time we were over in Colorado, I do a little bit of consulting work with USDA. You can be brought on as a consultant. And at the time that I was doing some work over on the White River National Forest, yes.
Okay. If that is still part of your life, would that interfere with your council duties as far as?
No, because that's a secondary. I would not put that ahead of the council duties.
Okay. Are you aware of what the time constraints of, or the time demands of the council are?
Yes.
Okay.
To follow up to Bill's question, the duties will consume as much time as you allow them to. It can, in a lot of cases, seem to be more than a part-time job. It gets close to a full-time job. So, heads up. Anyone else? My question for you is the same as my question to Dave. Do you have any reason to think that you wouldn't be able to fill the one-year term?
No, I have no medications I'm on except for vitamins in the morning and turmeric and calcium and stuff. So have no issues on that, no.
All right, thank you.
Do you see yourself running for the next 2-year term?
Yes, based on looking at, what I can learn the next year, I would see no reason why not to run.
Robert, do you consider yourself to be a critical thinker?
Yes, I do. Spending 34 years with the USD Forest Service, I had to buck a lot of issues with Washington, D.C. They were taking away the on-the-ground authority of those individuals that could make decisions based on the local impacts. And so I do think, I look at, while I was in Douglas, Wyoming, I had a staff of about 10 people, and we would sit down on a monthly basis looking at issues and how to resolve those issues in a common, format. We're not going to make everybody happy, but how can we do the best with what we've got?
Thank you.
If you don't get chosen tonight, do you plan on running in the future?
Yes, I would.
Because nobody runs in any ward except Ward 1, and I'm curious why. I'm not saying these guys don't do a good job, but I'm just curious why nobody runs in any wards. But yet they'll sit there and complain about the city.
Yeah, yes, I would.
Okay.
Get any ideas on how we can attract new young people and businesses to Hot Springs and recognizing that we have a housing shortage here?
I look at it, a housing shortage, or just how it's structured. You look at the prices of the homes that have gone up and up and up and up. And, it has to do with, the homes are available and the type of professions you might want to bring in. Is that what they want? Or the homes that they do want, how much is it going to cost for them to fix up and maintain and remodel? So we have to look at, again, getting back to hopefully working with the state on tax base to keep those prices down. I'll use this for example. We had a lot of people coming in from Colorado and California that were selling multi-million-dollar homes, and they could buy 3 or 4 or 5 homes sight unseen here. But what does that do? It raises up our prices. So how can we keep that down so that way folks can afford to live here and even remodel a home to make it what they want. I spent 4 years on the Planning Commission in Chadron, Nebraska when I was down there, and we had issues the same here at that point in time is looking at, if anybody's been in Nebraska, property taxes down there are just outrageous. And how can we look at, maintaining and lowering those taxes to keep the value of our, or at least the valuations of our homes down, so that way people can afford to live here.
And I may have misspoke on saying there's a housing shortage. Maybe I should have added to that, in affordable.
I would agree with that.
Anyone else? Bob, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Misty, would you poll the council? As we've done for a number of years, folks, this is a verbal vote. Whether you want to see Dave fulfill the one-year vacancy or you want to see Bob fulfill the one-year vacancy. If you'd poll the council, please.
Craig Romey,
Dave Burris.
J.R. Huddleston,
Dave Burris?
Deborah Johnston,
Bob Sprintel,
oops, sorry. Make sure I get it right. Bill Lukens,
Dave Burris.
Gary Telkamp,
Bob Sprintel.
Linda Varvel.
Dave Burrs.
You have 4-2, Mayor, for Dave Burris.
For Dave. Again, gentlemen, thank you for your interest. To Craig's point, you had indicated that you'd run next year. Look forward to that. This is not the way to appoint people to council. Thank you, Bob. Dave, if you come up and take your oath of office, please.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Back in the old seat.
And if it's helpful, if you'd like to read this as we read the oath together.
Okay.
Put your right to work, raise your right hand. I
I, David Burris,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the codified laws of the state of South Dakota,
the codified laws of the state of South Dakota,
and the ordinances of the city of Hot Springs.
and the ordinances of the city of Hot Springs.
I will faithfully and impartially,
I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
perform all the duties of the office.
that will perform all the duties of the office.
I will base my decisions
I'll base my decisions
on what is best for the government
on what is best for the government
and citizens of the city of Hot Springs,
and the citizens for the city of Hot Springs,
and not on any personal gain
and not on any personal gain.
or not under any direct or indirect obligation to others.
I'm not under any direct or indirect obligations to others.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
And here's your packet.
Thank you.
And before we move on to election of council president and vice president, just a reminder again that we do have a vacancy in Ward 1, and we will be accepting letters of interest until July 16th, 5 p.m. for anyone that'd like to fill that role. Those letters of interest will then be in the council's packet for the July 21st meeting. We'll try to get a full council for you folks. Every ward needs to have equal representation. We're going to strive real hard to make that happen. All right, on to election of council president and vice president. Do we have a nomination for who you want to be your council president?
Mr. Mayor, I nominate Bill Lukens to be president of the council.
Second?
Wanted to second that.
Go ahead.
Can I second the second?
Sure.
Johnston,
All right.
seconded.
So we have a motion and a second for Bill to be your council president. Anyone else? Bill, will you accept it?
Yes.
Misty? Would you go and poll the folks?
Craig Romy,
Yes.
thank you. J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Dave Burris.
Yes.
Gary Telkamp.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Condolences.
He knows the job.
Nominations for who you want to be your vice
I'd
president.
like to
Nominate-
nominate J.R. Hudson.
Second.
I nominate Deborah Johnston.
So we have a nomination and a second for JR. We have a nomination for Deborah. Do we have a second?
Come on.
I second.
Anyone else? Misty, would you poll the council, please?
Craig Romy. You're going to answer Deborah Johnston
Deborah
or
Johnston.
J.R. Huddleston. I'm not going to ask. Do I ask J.R. and Deborah?
Yeah, they can vote for themselves.
J.R. Huddleston.
JR.
Deborah Johnston.
JR.
Bill Lukens.
JR.
Deborah.
Dave Burris.
JR.
Gary Telkamp.
J.R.
Linda Varvel.
We'll make it unanimous, JR.
Well, it's not quite.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so Bill is your council president, JR is your council president, or vice president, and Deborah, thank you for the giggle. On to adoption of the agenda. Reminding everyone, if you have a conflict of interest, please let the rest of the council know before you vote. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the June 16th council meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 16th council meeting.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Oh,
I wasn't here.
that's right, you weren't.
You still got to review them, but you can abstain.
Motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the bills in between?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in between for $176,784.67.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the current claims?
Make a motion to approve the current claims for $167,561.69.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
The motion passes. And can I get a motion to approve the Wells Fargo credit card?
I make a motion to approve the Wells Fargo credit card claims in the amount of $5,622.55.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Abstain.
I
Opposed?
have to abstain from that also. I didn't get through the packet to read the credit cards. I read it just
All right, the motion passes. Communications from the public. Is there anyone that would like to address the council tonight?
Thank you. Robert Paul, I live at 1327 Schofield Street. I would like to respectfully request of the council, with budget hearings fast approaching and the state of property tax valuations and property taxes being at an all-time high, that when you go into your budget hearings, as you did several years ago, I am hoping very much that you folks will look at your budget as being a lights and water type budget and nothing beyond what is absolutely necessary. I would like to respectfully request, I know that you can increase your budget by 3%. I would really appreciate it, all effort to keep your budget at last year's budget price. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
I was making notes. Thank you, Bob.
I'll be watching.
We know.
You'll probably be there.
Anyone else? On to personnel. Can I get a motion to approve personnel actions A through I?
Make a motion to approve personnel actions item A through 5, or I'm sorry, A through I.
Second.
Just a minute.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Our ordinances for tonight, can I get a motion on ordinance item A, second reading of ordinance 1270?
I make a motion to approve the second reading ordinance 1270, an ordinance revising Title V Public Works, Chapter 51 Water, 51.01 Definitions, 51.04 Service Line Connections, Termination, 51.05 Water Meters, 51.06 Service Line Installation, and 51.13 Water Main Extensions.
Second.
Discussion?
Is this the one I questioned you about this morning? Or is B?
I'm not sure which one it is, Craig.
This one's water, the next one's wastewater. I'm not sure what your question was related to, but.
His question is about how we're handling yokes and meters,
Oh, so that
and
would
who's
be the water
responsible
one.
for the repair of it, property owner versus the city. So
That's the water one.
that would be under Chapter 51 Water. Any other questions? Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Deborah Johnston,
Yes.
Gary Telkamp,
Yes.
Linda Varvel,
Yes.
David Burris,
I'll abstain.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Craig Romy.
I talked to Bob about this morning, tried to get some clearance about the issue. Basically, seems like it's the same system, just they added more towards the city to doing repairs, so I'm gonna vote yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance item B, can I get a motion for the second reading of ordinance 1271?
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1271, an ordinance revising Title V Public Works, Chapter 52 Wastewater and Storm Sewer, 52.01 Definitions, 5303, private wastewater disposal, septic systems. 5204, sanitary sewers, connections and fees. 5205, existing buildings. 5207, sewer main extensions. And 5208, use of public sewers.
Second.
Discussion? Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
David Burris.
Yes.
Gary Telkamp.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Craig Romy.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Ordinance item C. Can I get a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1272?
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1272, an ordinance revising Title IX General Regulations, Chapter 94, Streets and Sidewalks, 94.19, Liability.
Second.
Discussion? Misty, would you call the roll?
Craig Romy.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Gary Telkamp.
Yes.
Dave Burris.
Yes.
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. And our final ordinance for tonight, ordinance item D. Can I get a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1273?
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1273, supplemental appropriation ordinance.
Second.
Discussion?
What is that for?
Would you like me to answer?
Yes.
Each year, for supplementing our budgets, we combine those actions, since it requires an ordinance, into two different ordinances. One with the first reading right before new council takes over, the second reading with the new council, and then one at the end of the year to cover any things that have popped up budget-wise. Everything on this supplemental appropriation ordinance, except for the workers' comp, which we talked about, has been discussed and approved prior to this ordinance being read. So if you look at the annotations after the description of where it's being budgeted, but before the numbers, you'll see the explanation for supplementing the budget. It includes the new admin that was hired after budget was done, lower Centennial Park sprinklers that were approved by the council, and a historic assessment that was required for the Minnetonka Bridge to replace it. The dip bridge boring was over the amount we anticipated for the budget. The bid board increased their South Dakota match budgeting after budget was approved with their own funds. The Macaulay's Vision Fund issued some grants and we received the money for that. And so those, and then the workers' comp were the only other supplements to the budget. At this time.
Greg looks like he's still thinking.
None good.
All right. Anyone else? Misty, would you call the roll?
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Dave Burris.
Yes.
Gary Telkamp.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Craig Romy.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. On to our resolutions. Can I get a motion on resolution item A, resolution 2025-16, a resolution to appoint Craig Romy to the Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management Commissioners.
I make a motion to approve 2025-16, a resolution to appoint Craig Romy to the Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management Board of Commissioners.
Second.
Linda?
She beat me.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
The motion passes. And our second resolution, item B, can I get a motion to approve resolution 2025-17, a resolution of support for the South Dakota Department of Transportation Alternative Grant application.
I make a motion to approve 2025-17 resolution of support, SD DOT Transportation Alternatives Grant application sponsorship for the staircase replacement project.
Second.
Did you get JR?
Got it.
Discussion?
Is that for all the staircases?
Just one.
This is for 2 of the staircases. This is one for the, by the fire station and the church.
We do intend to do the third just as a different phase to maximize the grant funding potential.
On that, was there any redirection as far as the reconstruction of it? Or are they following through with the same design?
When you say the same design, Dave,
Basically, are we replacing any of the destroyed with modern-day replacement steps? Are we using all the same materials, the same design?
They'll be metal. Corrugated steps.
no, the corrugated didn't pass favor.
Oh, that didn't?
No. So, yes, it will be fundamentally the same construction techniques.
But a complete replacement, not just a repair.
Yes.
Right.
Tearing all of them completely out and redoing the whole staircase?
Yes.
Yes.
Replacement, yeah.
And the priority was placed on the stairs by the Episcopal Church first, then the fire station with the museum being the last ones.
Thank you.
And just, if you don't already know, KLJ has done the engineering,
That's what I had heard.
and we had to do the engineering before we could apply for the grant.
Several of the grants required engineers' stamp on the designs. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. On to new business. Can I get a motion on new business item A, acknowledge review of South Dakota open meeting laws?
Make a motion to acknowledge the review of the South Dakota open meeting laws primarily found in South Dakota Codified Law, Chapter 1-25.
Second.
Dave,
Got it.
discussion? So these first two items, Council, are important when it comes to our responsibilities and how we handle these. This particular one, the public's business. There's a lot in here, so I would ask all of us to use it to read ourselves to sleep tonight and have a good understanding of how we conduct business and ensuring that the public is aware of everything that goes on. And Misty had handed out an additional one from the one that was in the packet, and Misty, can you help them with that?
A brief, quick review of the revisions just reflect the changes in laws passed in the last legislative session, which include more clearly defining what a meeting is and also this review process, where as council members, you acknowledge that you have read and understand these rules. Otherwise, they're the same rules that we operated under previously. And if you have any questions, because it's not black and white all the time, please feel free to ask. We have our own attorneys. We have access to attorneys through South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, and we have the Open Meetings Commission that we can ask questions to if there's something that you question after you review it, or at any time.
Anyone else have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Can I get a motion for new business item B, acknowledge review of elected officials' code of conduct?
I make a motion to acknowledge review of elected officials' code of conduct found in the City of Hot Springs Code of Ordinances, Title III, Chapter 30.
Second?
Discussion? This code of conduct has been around a while. If I'm remembering correctly, several of us up here voted for this particular code of conduct. Like the open meeting laws, I encourage all of us to read through it again. I've highlighted a couple sections in here that I want to make sure that I understand and adhere to completely. And in particular, it's Section 2, or Item B, Section 2, elected officials' conduct with city staff and limited contact with city staff. It's tough enough for our employees to go through changes in council potentially every year. They don't need 8 additional supervisors. They have enough supervisors out there right now to manage their day-to-day activities. So for me, I want to focus on what's the right way to deal with city staff. And I would encourage all of you to take a look at that section in particular, but read everything in here. It tells us how we need to behave, primarily with employees first, the public, and then with each other. So it's good instructions for us, and I would ask all of you to make sure you read it. There won't be a test, but become familiar with it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item C, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award and FAA grant application.
Make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award and FAA grant application as prepared by Airport Engineers KLJ to construct the automated weather operating system AWOS-3 at the Hot Springs Municipal Airport, AIP 3-46-0020-019-2025.
Second.
Discussion?
When was construction going to begin on this bill if this is approved?
Gary, I think
Talking hopefully by September, maybe. That'd be hopeful.
And this was to replace our current,
Well, it's a new system. AWOS-3 will give us the much more weather, give us vertical, and you'll be able to look and see what the weather's doing.
and if I remember right, it will allow the pilots to do instrumental landing.
Correct. And will also put us, Hot Springs, on the map as far as the weather's concerned.
Okay? Thanks, sir.
basically what this is we've been, in past meetings, have signed all the documents, made all the authorizations,
Approve the contract?
approved the contract, the government turned loose of the money, so we can start the work now.
This council's been working on this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Does this allow bigger planes to land or different planes to land that
So-
can't now?
Some companies, and even like the governor's plane that requires a flight plan, we have GPS, I'm looking at Gary to make sure I say it right.
Correct.
We already have GPS approach, and now with AWOS, an approved weather system, where they can file a flight plan, those companies that require a flight plan or require an approved weather system can now fly into Hot Springs once this is up and running.
Awesome.
So the governor chooses to come to Hot Springs, they can fly here instead of flying to Rapid and driving to Hot Springs.
Pretty much everyone around us has it, even Pine Ridge has it, Custer has it, so it's going to make a huge difference, and it really isn't for the benefit of the local people, because all you need to do is step outside, look and see what the weather is. But people in Minneapolis, are we going to go to Hot Springs, or do we have to go divert to Rapid City? That kind of stuff, so we're going to be hopefully getting in traffic that we didn't know that we're missing out on.
Yeah, local pilots can use a weather rope.
It does
Thank
have
you.
an improvement on AWOS 3 in order for, if a plane is having a mechanical issue, to contact and get information so they could do an emergency land, if I remember correctly.
You're correct.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item D, can I get a motion to approve a future contingency transfer of $1,500 to the General Fund Parks Department?
I make a motion to approve a future contingency transfer of $1,500 to the General Fund Parks Department 101-45200-43300 for the purchase of 17 5-gallon pails of acrylic resurfacer with sand to complete the resurfacing of the Butler Park basketball court to match the adjacent pickleball tennis area. This additional purchase is required due to an order error in late 2024, which was not identified until the work began, so the product is no longer eligible for return.
Second.
Discussion?
Is that stuff that is ordered in air, is it going to be able to use for anything?
I believe
Jason?
that the plan is to use it for other resurfacing that may be necessary.
Jason's here to
Jason Getch.
help us with questions and answers.
I'm Jason Getch. I'm with Southern Hills Recreation. So we're partnered with the Pickleball Club to get this court resurfaced. To answer your question, yes, the paint we have, what they sent was the base paint, not the base resurfacer. And they also did send some forest green coloring for that base paint, so that's what we have. That can be used on a concrete surface. If it's not a sports surface, we don't need all the underlaying coats. So there's a chance we could either use that to maybe do a pavilion concrete or something like that, make it a green color, or we could get color in to make it whatever color the city wanted.
Can it be used for filler? As far as I noticed on some of the old pourings and the old repairs of the basketball court and the tennis court, we have had areas that have actually sunk with the repairs that were done in the past. Can this be utilized to refill, and is it self-leveling?
No, this is the top coat, so this is not the filler. So we did go through, so if you've been by the park, you probably saw that we got started. Our first step was to put in leveling compound into the deepest bird baths. We went and leveled it, ground that down so that it's as smooth as we can get it. Then this material we need, the 17 pails, is the base coat. We'll put 2 layers of that, and it is self-leveling. That's what we need to level it out as much. We're working with old asphalt, so it's
Yeah,
only as
that's
good
why
as
I
we can get.
asked. That's why I asked, because you guys have a headache ahead of you. So that's why I was
You
wondering.
said this stuff's a base coat.
This is the base coat. Yep.
So can you use that stuff from last year to cover the base coat with it?
We already have plenty of the top coat for the color scheme that we, the approved design. So we don't need the extra top coat that we do have material for now. So like I said, there's a chance we could find something to do with it, or find another district that might be able to purchase that from us. Paint stays good longer than the paint store will take it back, but
That's what I was going to ask, is how long? Is there a shelf life?
I don't know. If you ask my mom, she's had paint for
Is it being stored inside where it's heated?
It has been stored at the city shops since we received it. The order went in last July. For some reason, the delivery didn't get made until October, I believe, was when it hit the ground, and so it was already too cold at night for us to put it down, which is what kind of pushed us into the non-returnable time frame here. Once we actually took that pallet apart and found out what was in it, it was already past our time frames.
Well, I'm thinking we need to do something soon instead of wasting taxpayers' money just sitting on a pallet. I think we need to find a place for it, whether we sell it or use it someplace.
And you did have a contingency in your budget last year, but that rolled over into our general fund at the end of the
We have
year.
2 projects. The tennis pickleball court was our first project. This was kind of the phase 2. Both those projects had contingencies that were approved by council. Misty probably has better accounting than what we've kept track of, but.
Did I send that to you? Did I send that to you? We created a project code, and I thought I sent it, or
I
maybe
think you said the total amount that we spent between the donated funds and city funds was about $17,000, and we had 10% contingency on that. So this is around that amount. I don't believe we have any large contingency items in either project other than this items. We're just basically asking for approval to use that contingency fund.
If it is a solvent, a petroleum-based, you might want to shake it up or stir it up about every 4 months. Otherwise, once it separates and sits that way,
it'll never mix again.
Yeah, everything's acrylic based, water-based acrylic, so it should keep pretty well.
The third page of this action item is the project code with the estimated expenditures and the actual expenditures before the $1,500 you'd be approving tonight. We wouldn't have asked you if there was budget authority available. We have to add budget authority, that's why you're being asked.
Well, the job's there, sitting there half done. I chased someone else out of it the other night. So it is being missed. We need to get it done sooner than later.
Kids do use the facility quite a bit.
When you and I talked, Jason, I'd asked you if council approves this purchase, an estimate of when you think you might be able to get started and be done.
Yeah, some of it comes down when I talked to the company, they thought that they could get this shipped next day, as soon as we make the order. It comes on freight company, not a standard delivery, so how long that takes. Our volunteers are available, I believe it's the 17th. But other than that, it'd probably be the first or second week of August that we'd be able to get back on it. So, and it is an all volunteer crew, so we're working on a lot of schedules.
They did confirm the turn time would be faster for this order, though.
It's a single product order, so she thought it would come.
That would put you beyond the normal rain season for us.
Yeah, it'll be miserable hot out there, but yeah,
Yes, it will.
it should be past.
But
the
it
rain.
will help
And
set up faster
Yeah,
also.
we'll probably have to go early mornings because otherwise it
Yes.
does dry very quickly. And the workability is limited when it gets really hot. So.
And the other thing we had talked about is working closely with city staff to make sure the right product gets ordered and received.
Yep, I think that we'll definitely get that on our radar, that anytime we make orders like this, that we make sure we get an invoice, packing list sent to us so we get more eyes on it to make sure we don't end up.
Because the packing list matched what was delivered. It just didn't match
The list we gave to get ordered.
what was specifically requested, so.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answers.
On to new business, item E. Can I get a motion to approve revised bylaws submitted by the Business Improvement District Board?
Make a motion to approve the revised bylaws submitted by the Business Improvement District Board to be effective July 8th, 2025.
Second.
Discussion?
Can I ask, what was actually revised?
You wouldn't have been here, but we got our annual report from Preston Gable, the president of the bid board. He talked about how with so much of the money going to the South Dakota match, for South Dakota tourism for the matching, there was no need to meet 4 times a year. So some revisions to the ordinance that were made December 17th and 21 were noted now in their bylaws because they haven't been changed since then. And then the annual report being in December now can be at any time because December doesn't always work for everyone. And then instead of quarterly bid board meetings, they're changing that to just 2. They're not putting it in their bylaws so that they can change to 2, and if it doesn't work, extend to 3 or schedule extra meetings if needed. But instead of saying quarterly, they didn't think they needed to meet 4 times a year. They talk about budget, they talk about what kind of marketing they're gonna do with their dollars, and really, there's not much else to talk about.
Okay.
Good question. I believe the changes
Thank
are
you.
highlighted in your copies too, to show you what it was before and what might be changing.
Okay. Thank you, Misty.
You're welcome.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business, item F. Can I get a motion to set budget meeting dates for Tuesday, July 29th and Wednesday, July 30th?
I make a motion to set the budget meeting dates for Tuesday, July 29th and Wednesday, July 30th to begin at 5 p.m. each day. Location will be the Mueller Civic Center at 801 South 6th Street. Additional days may be added if necessary.
Second.
Discussion? Did you make note of those, Bob?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item G, can I get a motion to approve and publish twice a notice to bidders for the 2025 Valley View Drainage Improvement Project?
Make a motion to approve and publish twice a notice to bidders for the 2025 Valley View Drainage Improvement Project. Sealed bids will be opened publicly and read aloud at the Public Works Committee meeting Monday, July 28th at 1:15 p.m.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? I'm pausing because looking at the notice to the bidders, it says bids will be opened at 1:15 on Tuesday, July 29th.
Oh, and you guys changed, is that the meeting you changed the date of?
Yes.
After Tracy drafted this?
No, it was around the same time.
It will need to be changed.
The date
The
for-
date was changed
Yeah, it's
because
scheduled to be, so we'll have to extend the publication date.
Monday, July 28th. Monday is the 28th.
Right, but on the notice to the bidders, it says the bids will be opened on Tuesday, July 29th.
Yeah, we'll double check and make sure the notice was corrected before it got sent out, and if not, we might have to extend the date.
Tracy was aware of that change, and I thought he said he was going to change it, so.
We may have gotten it corrected before we moved it to the
All
newspaper.
right.
So if we did, we'll leave it, and if not, the publication will change.
We didn't think we wanted to do a
Budget
long
hearing, public works
public
meeting.
and then go
Yep.
into a
It's a lot.
evening of budget hearings.
All right, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item H, can I get a motion to approve the requested tax abatements as submitted by the County of Fall River Auditor's Office?
I make a motion to approve the requested tax abatements as submitted by the County of Fall River Auditor's Office, State of South Dakota, $938.96, exempt from property taxes parcel number 75300-00705-13310 and 75300-00100-00100, and Luke Stanley, $2,347.84, building owned by Sela Mission, a nonprofit religious entity, parcels number 85000-02020-00020.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item I, can I get a motion to approve a special sale alcoholic beverage license application from CS Inc., doing business as Winter Circle?
I make a motion to approve special sales alcoholic beverage license application from CS Inc., doing business as Winter Circle for the Sayre Lockhart fundraiser to be held on September 6th at Centennial Park, 275 North Garden Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item J, can I get a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, July 21st at 7:10 p.m.?
Make a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, July 21st at 7:10 p.m. for the special sale alcoholic beverage license application from the Hot Springs Rotary Club for the Rocking Riverside concert events to be held on August 9 and 16 at Centennial Park, 275 North Garden Street.
Second.
Linda. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. And our final new business, item K. Can I get a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, July 21st at 7:10 or at 7:15 p.m.?
Make a motion to set a public hearing on Monday, July 21 at 7:15 PM to consider request by Kara Hagan to change the residential RA zoning designation of the property located at 1829 Minnetonka, legally described as Moccasin Springs, Lot 1 and 2 of Block 28, Second Minnetonka addition to Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, to a mixed-use MXDI or 1 designation.
Second.
Discussion?
I believe this was something that was overlooked or mistaken. It was supposed to have been included in a previous redesignation years ago, and so this is just kind of a cleanup to make it match with the rest of her property. That's correct.
So it is something that we had voted on in the past?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it didn't get changed out on the map.
Oh,
and in the
okay,
paperwork.
okay, now it makes sense. All right.
Is this where the original, where your restaurant and everything is you're talking about?
It's across
Tiny
the street.
piece of the parking lot. It's not even
It's-
very
Parking
big
lot?
parcel.
It's around the corner from the parking lot.
Is that new stuff they're working on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, this-
we've grown beyond setting the hearing. So, any questions, that you can answer, Kara?
Kara Hagan, 2035 Spring Avenue. So where that rock work is, Craig, up there, it's on the far right, left of that, I'm sorry. There's 3 lots, and I'm replatting that all into 1 lot. And, excuse me, the far left of that was the one that was missed. All of those along the whole entire side were rezoned as mixed use back in 2002.
Except the one on the left.
Except for the one on the far left.
I see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. And our committee reports. Before we get into the committee reports, some folks have been very anxious to know how this is going to break out. We only have 8 council people. I tried real hard to get us down to 8 committees rather than having some duplication, having people attend, council members being committee chairs for multiple committees or co-chairs. Wasn't as successful as I hoped I would be, so here's where I landed. Administrative and Finance will still be JR. Airport Advisory will still be Gary. Craig advocated very, very strongly for Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management. That's why I put the agenda item in front of you. So you're welcome. Historic Preservation, still Deborah. Evans Plunge, Linda. Parks Recreation, Beautification, until we get another council member. Linda, if you could go ahead and take that one.
Okay.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Deborah. Safety is Bill. JR, you have been co-chair. Certainly welcome to continue attending the meetings, but again, trying to just give each council member one committee to be responsible for. I left Bill on that one. Public Works, Dave, if you would chair that one for us. And then Craig, if you would be co-chair. Again, for you, it's 2 committees, but the Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management only meets quarterly.
Somebody else can do that one.
So I know that Public Works is important to you. That's where we're at. Golf Course Advisory, we're going to take a different direction on that one. I've had conversations with Jill and Jason and Jacqueline, our city administrator, and we're going to try a meeting early on in the season to have the golfers tell us what it is that they would like to see us try to get accomplished. And then we'll have a wrap-up meeting at the end of the season to let them know how we did on that. They're going to know anyway. They're going to, the same folks that are coming to the Golf Course Advisory are not bashful or shy about talking to Jason and Jill outside of the committee meeting. So they're still going to hear concerns from the golf community about what they think should happen with the golf course. But we're going to try on doing a kickoff meeting and then a season-ending meeting with Golf Advisory.
And will that still be you, Mayor?
Yeah, it'll still be me and Jacqueline. When council hired Jacqueline, one of the expectations is that our city administrator attend as many of the meetings as possible. And I've struggled with the Golf Advisory. It's not a required committee. We don't have to have it like we have to have planning and zoning and historic preservation. Those are two meetings that are always in the evening. The Golf Course Advisory was always in the evening. So we're putting an awful lot on the city administrator's plate to ask to attend all of these meetings and then still get the work done that we expect out of the position. So not having the city administrator or myself attend the Golf Advisory gives us 3 or 4 months throughout the year to do other things. And while we're talking about our committee meetings, I'm always open to open discussion so that everybody can share their opinion on something. For me, limiting a meeting to a finite amount of time, 1 hour, it just seems to water down discussion sometimes because you have a lot to talk about and you're trying to squeeze that all into an hour. So I've supported our meetings going beyond an hour. Sometimes they go 2 hours, they go 3 hours.
Why are you looking at me?
And that's not fair to city staff, and especially it's not fair to our city administrator to take up that much time throughout the day and then expect follow-up work. So my ask of the committees, and I'll try to do better about it, is stay focused on the agenda that's in front of you. It's nice to talk about how things have been done before or whatever, but stay focused. Try to keep these meetings as short as we can to give our city administrator an opportunity to finish the work that you've asked her to do. So if we can shorten these meetings, that would be beneficial to city staff, would be beneficial to council members, and it'll be especially beneficial to our city administrator. So that's my ask when it comes to our committee meetings. The agendas have been changed up a little bit for folks that haven't seen them before. I'm still looking to the people on the committee chairs to be responsible for their own agendas. City administrator is not an administrative assistant. So I'm asking you to put together your own agendas, keep track of your own minutes. That's not something that we need to have our city administrator taking care of. Help where she can, but not be responsible for the committee meetings, committee minutes. That's where we are as far as the committee assignments. Again, Administrative and Finance, JR, Airport Advisory, Gary, Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management, Craig, Historic Preservation, Deborah, Evans Plunge, Linda, Parks Recreation Beautification, Linda, until we get another council member on board. Planning and Zoning Commission, Deborah. I'd mentioned trying to have one committee per council member. Historic Preservation and Planning, they're so closely linked that I think that's worked out well.
Yeah, it has.
Safety, Bill, Public Works, Dave Chair, and Craig Co-Chair, and Golf Course Advisory will be biannual meeting. So we'll meet at the end of the season and see how successful we were at meeting the golfers' expectations that they are going to remind us of on a daily basis. So with that, Administrative and Finance, JR?
Admin and Finance will meet next Monday, the 14th at 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Civic Center. All are required to attend.
Invited.
Required.
Airport Advisory, Gary?
The Airport Advisory Committee met on Thursday, July 3rd at 8:32 a.m. at the Hot Springs Municipal Airport. Call to order and roll call. Members present with Shane Miller, Mark Bucksbaum, Mike Bogner, and Petra Wilson. Employees, Airport Manager Ivan Venner. Elected officials, Mayor Bob Nelson, Alderman Gary Telkamp, Alderman William Lukens. Airport tenants, none. Members of the public, none. The agenda was approved as written, and there was no communication from the public. Old business, report on the EA meeting by Vice President of Chapter 39, which is myself, Gary Telkamp. Southern Hills Aviation hosted Black Hills EA Chapter 39 for the monthly meeting on Tuesday, June 10th. Following a meal provided by Southern Hills Aviation, the group in attendance enjoyed presentations by the following: Ian Bell of Skydive, South Dakota, balloon pilots, glider club pilots, Ray Campbell of Southern Hills Aviation, Glenn Cheatham, flight instruction, Clint Buznitz, Badlands Traveler Build Project, and Ivan Venner, Hot Springs Airport Manager. 45 people were in attendance and 5 airplanes flew in for the event. Most favorable comments were received and shared. The Colorado Pilots Association met on June 13th through the 15th. 27 people were in attendance, arriving in 13 airplanes. Bill Marvel of the Colorado Pilots Association reported that they all had a wonderful time in Hot Springs and the surrounding area. He complimented Ivan Venner on doing everything that was asked of him and more. Fuel purchases. 4,000 gallons of fuel was purchased on June 19th, 2025 at wholesale cost of $4.42 a gallon and is being retailed at $5.99 a gallon. New business. AWAS 3 is moving forward on schedule. A pre-construction meeting is being set for July. Petra Wilson advises that everything is moving forward for the Balloon Festival, set for August 22nd through the 24th. They're anticipating 22 balloons to be in attendance. There was a discussion concerning the location of Night Glow, anticipating at this time that it will be held at Centennial Park. Airport Manager update. Monthly fuel sales. 1,578 gallons sold in June, which is up 128 gallons from 1 year ago. There were 105 flight operations and 78 fuel sales for an average of 20.23 gallons per sale. 1 year ago, it was 1,450 gallons and 57 sales, or 25.44 gallons per sale. Ivan discussed the possibility of having a flying event in September. Skydive South Dakota is having a skydiving event this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, July 4th, 5th, and 6th. Committee member comments. Petra Wilson advises that there are 13 takeoffs of balloons and 5 landings this past month. Shane Miller shared that the average price of 100 low lead within 70 miles of Hot Springs is $5.76 a gallon and ranges from a low of $5.15 to a high of $6.04 per gallon. Badlands Flying, which has occurred at Hot Springs in September for the last several years, is going to be hosted by Spearfish this year. The next meeting is set for Thursday, August 7th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. The committee adjourned at 9:14 a.m. Any questions, comments, concerns?
That's quite a markup on the gas, isn't
I
it?
was just going to say the same thing.
What does Rapid City sell their gas for? Have you checked that out?
Yeah, we're average.
$5.49 a gallon.
Huh?
$5.49 a gallon.
We are average. in the
50 cents
surrounding
higher than them? We're 50 cents higher than Rapid?
Correct.
I thought we were making a practice, at least months ago, I thought it was a kind of a standard of practice for us to try to be just a couple cents under everyone so that we would draw them here. So how many are we losing because they're flying over us?
You passed a resolution this year, early this year, about the airport pricing and the way it's done. And we set and we try to be on average of the surrounding airports. And we take the guidance from our airport manager and city administration on pricing.
Well, those numbers were top. There might
You're not
be one
looking at all
above
the
us.
numbers.
Okay.
You can ask Ivan for his analysis of it. That's what I'd recommend. or we can get one for you from him and share.
The average in a 70-mile radius is $5.76. And that information, you can all look it up on your phones right now on AirNav. It'll give you the price of fuel at all the airports within 70 miles.
So we're 22 cents above that, if we're at $5.99.
So what we don't know that goes into the pricing of every other location is whether they're selling at a loss, whether they're just making a penny on it, what their costs are that go into that cost per gallon. We've identified what our costs are, and we're trying to keep ourselves positioned to have enough money to buy the next load of fuel. And council, you approved the process that the city administrator, finance officer, Ivan, and myself would sit down and take a look at them, recognizing there are going to be times that the argument can be made, are we pricing it correctly? But we're pricing it where we feel that we're going to be able to buy the next tank of fuel that comes in. There have been discussions about special pricing to entice pilots to stop in hot springs. So it's not just as easy, in my opinion, as looking at what the price is of other locations if you don't know what goes into that particular price. We have a fuel system that we have to pay for. We have
Credit card processing fees.
credit card processing. We also have software updates to that. I have advocated for a long time for the city of Hot Springs to get out of the fuel business. There are the comparisons of the folks that had it before us. They were private, and they could put the price wherever they wanted to have it. So I recognize that there are concerns about, is the price right? But to simply look at somebody else without understanding why that price is what it is, I don't think is being fair to the conversation. So.
And don't read into what I just said as giving you an opinion. I was just giving you the numbers.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And I asked you to, so thank you.
Gary, you had talked about the Balloon Festival and the night glow. The conversation that we had at Airport Advisory was whether the balloon pilots were in fact going to put the balloons down in Fall River, because they had mentioned after last year they were not anxious to do that. Petra and I had a chance to go down and take a look at it. Last year it was mostly dirt, and that was her biggest opposition to putting balloons on the dirt. What she saw last week, she said that she's very comfortable with putting the balloons down in the river itself. So we need to have the conversations about putting balloons, not balloons, but putting baskets and burners on the suspended sidewalk. Not the sidewalk itself, but adjacent to the suspended sidewalk. That seemed to go over very well last year, but they have some requests associated with that that may be a little difficult to manage. So we'll have a conversation with Jacqueline and Petra and see how we can accommodate putting more balloons up there. They have enough balloons that they could pretty much fill the sidewalk, which last year was a big thing. But in doing that, they want to have parking spaces reserved so they can unload their baskets. And it's not just the trailer, it's a pickup. So that would pretty much mean blocking off all of the parking along the suspended sidewalk for the balloonist. And they have some other thoughts, but we'll continue having the conversations. We'll keep you updated.
Well, thank you for that information. That all took place after our committee meeting, so I didn't have that information to share in the committee minutes.
And most of that didn't come together until this afternoon, that information. All right. Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management, that will be, I think your next meeting is this Thursday? If you take a look at the handout that I gave you.
Remember, you know, I'll look into that. I'll let
Next
you know.
meeting, July 10th, 7 p.m.
July what?
10th?
10th?
That was
p.m.
one of the three handouts that I gave you. Historic preservation, Deborah?
Historic Preservation met July 2nd here at the Mueller Center. Meeting was called to order at 5:10 PM. Present were Christine Heidebrink, Carl Hall, and Joan Nekashe. Staff were myself, Jacqueline Kelsey, and Wesley Foss. Guests were Shelley Higgins-Brown and Gary Telkamp. Agenda was approved and minutes were approved from the previous meeting, and there was no public comment. Under old business, a review of the ordinance historic guidebook. Items in the guidebook that were identified for revision, including having the map updated, the perpendicular signage restriction removed, reference to a historic preservation library removed or clarified, incorrect phone numbers, removal of language regarding test patches on sandstone buildings, and help for locating appropriate replacement elements, and the reference that screen windows are available through the commission. Number 2, the new gel facade certificate of appropriateness was tabled until we receive more information about their plans as they go forward. Number 3, Deadwood HPC meeting invite. We suspended that until we have an opportunity to further review our design guidelines and ordinances. Under new business, certificate of appropriateness for the Welcome to Hot Springs bump out, which is across from the Flatiron. Shelley Higgins-Brown was in attendance to present the COA for a new Welcome to Hot Springs bump out sign across from the Flatiron. Christine made a motion to approve the COA, and it was seconded and carried. They're doing a big makeover of that right now. Certificate of appropriateness, request for power box wraps by Keep Hot Springs Beautiful. Shelley also presented this for proposed artistic power box wraps. Christine made a motion to approve, and it was seconded and carried. Staff updates, flag banner update. The vendor and color palette was revised due to availability of previous colors selected. There was no updates on the deterioration by neglect. The commission member comments. It was noted that several links to the historic preservation information was missing from the historic preservation tab on the city website. Jacqueline will check with having these restored or an alternative link added to make sure the information is accessible. Members also discussed requesting $5,000 allocation from the city council to go towards the 2026 year to possibly host a local workshop or to allow members to attend state training. The next meeting is August 6th, 5 p.m., and the meeting adjourned at
7:03.
Must have been 6:03.
7:03.
Oh, 7:03, okay, sorry, 7:03, and that's it.
Any questions for Deborah? Thank you. Evans Plunge Advisory, Linda?
The Evans Plunge Advisory Committee will meet July 10th, 2025 at noon.
Thank you. Parks, Recreation, and Beautification, Linda?
Okay, Parks, Recreation, Beautification, and Cultural Development met on Wednesday, July 2nd at 2 p.m. The regular meeting was called to order at 2 p.m. We adopted the agenda and it was accepted. The attendees were co-chairs Larry Pratt, Linda Barbell, members Caitlin Mossett, Gabby Martin, Lori Sherrard, Deborah Johnston, City Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey, Councilman Gary Telkamp, Public Jason Getch, Gerald Culligan. Under public comment, Gerald asked about the spraying of noxious weeds along the river and walkway, citing poison hemlock, ivy, and oak, as well as Canadian thistle. He mentioned the lights at Kidney Springs And the drinking fountains at Butler Park and Centennial Park have limited capacity, like a dribble coming out of them. And he wanted to know if the city was planning on spraying for mosquitoes this year. The pickleball court lights are again staying on past 10 p.m. Arts and crafts went well this year. However, he noticed no flags were flown in front of City Hall. Lori commented that the city is getting quotes for spraying weeds next year and looking into alternatives for the pickleball court lights. Jason reported his group is still working with Rapid City on obtaining the disc golf and updated on resurfacing the basketball court, needing council approval to purchase the material at this time. At this time, the basketball court is closed, and we did vote on the material that they needed tonight. Deb reported that budget talks are coming up and be thinking of projects needing to be done in 2026. Old business, there were none. New business, it was suggested to move the farmer's market to the old food court area at the north end of town. Lack of room and parking were brought up for this site, and they felt it was not a good idea. Staff reports and updates. Lori reports the grass is growing and being mowed. Departments have been very busy preparing for the 4th of July and the all-class reunion, setting up the concert venues. They have repaired bathrooms and done electrical work. The Rotary has a list of renovations of Centennial Park bathroom will be put on the August agenda. Gabby is very busy, has softball, swim lessons, are wrapping up, as well as gymnastics, golf, and watercolor. Piano is still going, theater starts today, and we are still looking forward to ceramics and taekwondo starting soon. Caitlin, the last bump out is planted, mulch is being put down, some corners are being driven through, and bigger rocks were put into place to possibly help that. The electrical box wrap designs are going before committee yet. Voting for favorite pods will be starting soon. The next meeting will be Wednesday, August 6, 2025 at 2 p.m. and we adjourned at 2:54. Any questions?
I'd just like to say that the city looked phenomenal this last weekend for everything that went on. I think this was the best all-school reunion that I've ever seen. And everyone was just thrilled with how pretty the city was and how clean it was. And so I was so proud of it, everything. And what everyone's done, I give big kudos to all the work put into it.
Linda, can I ask you, what exactly you're talking about is the electrical wrap?
On some of the electrical boxes on the corners, they're about yay big and stand about this high.
Right.
And they're like a light green color.
They're ugly green, army green.
And it was suggested a while back to see if we could put wraps around those. And they've been trying to come up with designs for those wraps to be put on those electrical boxes. I can't remember how many there are.
I think there's three.
There's two.
Is there two?
And they're a little bit bigger than that. So
Okay.
one of them is over by China Walk, the one in the bump out in front of China Walk. And that one is owned by, I think, Black Hills Energy. So Keep Hot Springs Beautiful got approval to wrap that one. And then I've been in contact with the state to get approval to do the electrical, the power box for the stoplights. It's by Wells Fargo and it's pretty large. And they had a nice design for that, and the state had a couple questions as far as as like who designed it and who's going to maintain it. And anyway, we ended up getting approval from the state this morning, so they're going to move forward with that. This was approved by HPC for the COAs, as Deb read off in her report. And the Keep Hot Springs Beautiful is funding the entire project and is bringing in a local artist from Rapid City. So it's 2 power boxes, and the approval's already been obtained from both the state and Black Hills Energy.
You can wrap them or paint them?
They're wraps.
Rapid City has done it up on their
It's
boxes.
something that's going to have to be open.
Right, so they do it with the capability of opening it. It's a
Okay.
professional called Image 360 that's going to come down and wrap all the boxes, and the one stipulation is that the stickers on the outside of the boxes have to be visible, and that was the only concern of both owners of the boxes. So.
Okay, I just was wondering, I never heard that before, so wondering where that was coming from.
One of the designs that was shown to us was kind of an off-take of the Buffalo mural that's next to the police station, only it's got a different take on it, but it's kind of that coloration. You know.
I also have a question, Linda. The Rotary has a list of renovations of Centennial Park, and it mentions will be put on the August agenda. Is that for council consideration, or is that their agenda?
I thought that it was going to be put on this agenda, on Parks and Rec, or is it going to be at City Council?
It might be for the approval at Parks and Recreation of the official items that they actually want to start working on. I know they were getting together a list of contractors and concepts to work on.
Okay.
That they were waiting for the final approval for. But they have quite a few projects that are going to need to be done in phases over the next few years if they continue to pursue this. Everything from just redoing the entire interior. But so far their efforts, they've ordered new mirrors. Hopefully they'll be vandal-proof. So they've ordered new mirrors for the restrooms. The city has installed latches or locks on the inside of the doors, which is something that had been pointed out quite a bit that they wanted done. And then the Rotary plans on cleaning and painting and whatever else they need to do with the floors in the bathrooms. And so that would be like their phase 1.
So nothing needs to be on a future council agenda at this time?
Yeah, I would say no. I think
No, I think they were just going to bring up some items for Parks and Rec to give us an idea of what they were looking at.
Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something that needed to be on a future agenda. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else?
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
You had mentioned the bump outs and that some of them have tire tracks in them and rocks were put in them to discourage vehicles from driving in them. Need to caution, keep Hot Springs beautiful, that we are not free to just place rocks in bump outs.
Oh, okay.
Any rocks in those bump outs have to be approved by DOT. They can't be too large, they can't be too close, where if a vehicle does in fact get into them, it causes an accident or damage to the vehicles. So as much as we would like them to not be driving in our ponds, we're not free to just decide we're going to stick a big rock there because it is a state highway and there are limitations and what can be in the driving lanes. We need to be careful with that. All the rocks that have been put in, it's my understanding that they've been approved by the state in their placement, that they can't be too high, they can't be too close.
Okay. All righty. Anybody else?
We got you, didn't we? With all kinds of questions.
Okay, that's fine.
Planning and zoning, Deborah?
Planning and zoning will meet the 16th of July, Wednesday, 6 p.m. at City Hall.
Thank you. Safety, Bill, JR, for this particular committee meeting?
Okay, Safety Committee met on Thursday, July 3rd, 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Center. Members were JR, myself, Deborah, City Administrator Jacqueline, PD Chief Ross Norton, Safety Coordinator Lori Sherrard, and Fall River Health ER Nurse Manager Larry Haskovitz. Members of the public, Craig Romey. We adopted the agenda as published. There were no communications from the public. Under old business, Status of the Mueller Center and Butler Park facility use agreements with South Dakota Wildland Fire. We're still waiting on South Dakota Wildland Fire Legal to provide some feedback on the various items of discussion. Item 2, the 2025 deer harvest. We're waiting on information from South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. Item 3, fuels reduction effort. We're identifying areas of public and private ownership. That was reviewed in the event that any grant funding does become available, then we can coordinate with landowners to get that work done. Item 4, the city administrator informed the committee that the grant application for backup generators for Hot Brook Pumping Station and wastewater treatment facility have been submitted. We appreciate all the work that Jacqueline's been doing on that, as well as the assistance that we've received from Black Hills Council local governments. Under new business, reviewed the fine and bond schedule for Title IX, Chapter 9306A, regarding the fines for fireworks. The committee concurred with the current amounts, which is, I think, $120 for shooting off improper fireworks or fireworks outside of the 4th of July, and $500 if the fire danger is high or above. Under updates from the police department, the department is down one member due to an off-the-job injury. Chief said this will likely impact departmental overtime. Chief also provided an update on the Happy Hollow speed enforcement efforts. There's been 32 traffic stops on Happy Hollow in the past months. And he also informed us that he has submitted his budget for 2026. Under committee member comments, Alderman Huddleston commented that the crosswalks are being heavily utilized. However, motorists are not always yielding to pedestrians. Pedestrians are encouraged to be vigilant, and drivers are also encouraged to be mindful of and yield to pedestrians.
Thank you.
Alderman Lukens asked if there was a need to address panhandling in our ordinance based on some recent activity in town. The city administrator provided input based on South Dakota codified law. Generally, the law does not allow prohibition of panhandling on public ways, so the issue was dropped. Per the Code of Conduct ordinance that we all reviewed tonight, the committee was notified, and by this report the council was notified, that Alderman Lukens was asked by Fall River Emergency Management and accepted an invitation to be the Hot Springs City Government representative on the Fall River County Local Emergency Planning Committee. So I get to go to one more meeting every quarter. The first meeting was July 2nd, and part of our discussion was that the county's command post was about staffing of the county's command post during a major emergency. And it was requested that a representative from the city that could make decisions be present in the event that command post is opened. And to support that position, our emergency coordination center at the library would likely be opened and staffed as appropriate. Emergency Manager Dark Boy said that they wanted somebody in the command post that could have authorization for expenditures. Well, that's not a one-person job. And that's where opening up our coordination center at the library, where we may have to in fact call an emergency council meeting in order to authorize a an abnormal expenditure. But that's what that was the whole purpose of establishing that asset at the library, is to support, not to run anything, but to support the county's emergency management activities. So I would assume that the position that they would ask for would probably be the mayor. And then the rest of us, as necessary, would be up at the library to support.
I'd be interested to know how the county is able to assign one person that can do that. Like if there's some kind of resolution or something, because quite possibly we might be able to mimic something like that in the event of an emergency. So if you could ask DAR how the county handles that, because they're governing body just like us, they might fall under a different chapter of statute, but many of our rules are the same. So if there is some way to do that.
I had a hard time thinking of the expenditures, emergency expenditures we might have to make, because, you know, we've got several 100,000 sandbags sitting at the city shop if it was a flood event, so it's not a matter of purchasing those.
Maybe it's just salaries and wages, like calling people to work or
And
something.
in that case, the work would go on, and then if we had to supplementally appropriate the budget to cover those wages after the fact, we would probably do that. So it was like, okay, we'll handle it as appropriate.
Yeah, if they have some kind of way, though, that they exercise that option, I'd be interested in looking at it for us to do the same.
But given what's going on in Texas right now and potentially North Carolina, it's not something, I think the steps that we've taken just to be prepared for stuff that we don't want to happen are appropriate steps. So moving on to employee safety concerns, the safety coordinator informed us that heat safety will be the topic for July, kind of appropriate. Trenching safety will be a future topic, and seatbelt usage is improving. We adjourned at 2:07 p.m. and our next meeting will be Thursday, August 7th, 1 p.m. at the Mueller Center Conference Room. Questions, comments?
Bill, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think I was at the Safety Council meeting.
Under attendance.
He was.
Did I leave you out?
Well, that's okay.
I don't put it in my notes, so.
I will modify the minutes.
Thank you. But anyway, just circling back for a minute, I believe it was Lori who brought up a safety issue, and that was the rocks that are on River Street there in the sidewalk area, and how people have opened their car doors into those rocks, so allegedly. So I went down there and looked at them, and I could see how something like that could happen. And, you know, I'm not a designer, obviously. My wife will attest to that, but I didn't see that. I really couldn't see what the purpose of those rocks on the sidewalk.
Keep people from driving on the sidewalk.
I think we could do something a little more ornate, though.
They didn't seem all that aesthetically pleasing to me, but then...
When under the design process, I pictured some nicer looking rocks than what got put there.
When I had my petition signed, I'll bet you I had 30, 40 people complain about those rocks down there and their door hitting them and stuff. They're just the right height that the door catch them. And there ain't much parking there anyway. You can't get out any further, you're in the street. So
I could see some stones with a long stone, like a bench type, sandstone bench would be more appropriate and pushed in a little more.
As tight as everything is down there, anything's gonna be in the way.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, so a little background information on this one. Craig and I and John Gregory worked with ISG in the design of the suspended sidewalk. The purpose of those sandstone blocks is to keep potential cars from driving up on the suspended sidewalk itself. So it was a safety design consideration. To the size of the blocks, they originally intended to be bigger. There were going to be 26 of them at the cost of $85,000. So it was the city administrator at that time that said, well, He had seen the sandstone blocks out at the quarry, the old quarry by Simons, and said, why do we need to spend $85,000 when we have our own sandstone blocks, our own historical blocks that we could bring down and have it be part of the design and bring the old history of Hot Springs into the new history of Hot Springs. So there is a purpose for them. If people think that they're too short, that doors are going to hit them, the original design, I would be guaranteed that a door would hit them because they were going to be much taller than they are. But that was always part of the design that the group agreed to and felt like it was a good compromise to spending $85,000 for manufactured, perfectly square blocks to put on that sidewalk. So that's the reason that they're there.
Bob is correct. One of the things we talked about is they'd be high enough that people could sit on them when they got tired of walking and stuff. Those are too short. I mean, you can sit on them.
I'm not arguing that. I'm simply saying the decision was made at the time and agreed to save $85,000 of taxpayers' dollars and bring some old history from Hot Springs into the new history of Hot Springs. We felt like it was a good match. So I think we just need to stand up and say, here's why the decision was made, and go from there.
The other thing I have to say about that, working with highway departments and stuff in the past, the actual parking area, you are to park on the pavement. You're actually, if you walk downtown, you will notice that 75% of the people that park are right up against the curb. If you notice, there's a foot section of curbing that is seamed along the ridge there that comes up, okay? And you're actually supposed to park on the pavement. You're really not supposed to park on the gully because it creates a problem with catching debris and stuff like that in rains. So in all actuality, if you're still parked on the pavement and open your door, you will actually have an extra 8 to 10 inches of swing room. That's why a lot of designs, if you look at that, that is why those designs are made that way. Because when you start cracking the cements and parking on the actual footings of those curbings right there, that's why you see the cracks. You'll get big trucks that'll actually pull all the way right up against the curb, and those aren't really not necessarily set up. That is set up for drainage. It's not really set up for parking on. So if people would properly park their car where you're still on the blacktop and not on the cement inside the curb, you'll have more than enough room.
You just won't be able to open your driver's door.
Yeah, you just have to be real careful when you open your driver's door.
But very honestly, that's why it's set up that way.
Let's do like in the olden days, everybody got in the passenger door instead of walking around. You have to exit and stuff.
But very honestly, if you look at the designs of a lot of that, that is why it's created that way. Is because it is more expensive for a city to take out a section of sidewalk, which is also going to be curbs, and have that replaced than it is for them to replace any blacktop in between the cement portions that is actually your curbing and your sidewalk. Blacktop is a lot easier to repair.
Well, that's good information, and mine was just a follow-up to the comments that were made at the safety meeting.
Oh, I'm not calling you on it or anything. I'm just trying to remind people that, you know, that is why it's designed that way.
Yeah.
And we do get, well, let's be honest, not too long ago, just a few days ago in the middle of the afternoon, we had one heck of a rain right here in town. And really, the storm was expected to split around town, but it came in town and the water was just flowing really good in the roads. So it's just something to keep in mind when you are parking. You're not supposed to be right up against the curb.
I've had a number of calls over the years from other municipalities who want to buy our sandstone. They recognize the significance of it, and I have said, no, it's not for sale. It's our history. So we had a choice of leaving it lay in a field that a lot of people didn't even know about, or pulling it out and incorporating with a new design so that people could take a look at it. We could tell the story that these are sandstone blocks from regrettably old buildings that didn't make it. So I was one of the 3 people that felt it was a good solution, and I'll own that, and I think it was the right decision to make.
I would have to agree.
All right. Anyone else? Public Works. Bill?
Okay, Public Works met on Monday, June 23rd at 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Center. Present were myself, Mayor Nelson, Administrator Jacqueline Kelsey, Public Works Engineer Tracy Bastian, Water Department Foreman Sean Hiley, Wastewater Foreman Jason Carell. So that was my memory of who was there. Members of the public present were Craig Romey. The agenda was adopted as published. Under communications from the public, Craig Romey brought 3 items from various members of the public, as well as 2 other concerns. These will be reviewed and, if appropriate, added to the streets and maintenance work priority list. There were no old business items. Under new business, we discussed membership with the Western Dakota Regional Water System. The committee recommends that the City of Hot Springs join as an associate member at a cost of $375 per year. We've talked on and off about this in past Public Works reports. It will probably be 20 years before that project comes to completion. It brings, potentially, if it goes forward, it brings Missouri River water to the Black Hills. Edgemont is a member. I was just informed by Jim Jones with AE2S that's part of this organization also. Hill City has joined. And what it does for us, if we are either a full member, which is $1,500 a year, and if at that level of membership you sit on the board and you can vote and be part of the decision maker, or if you're an associate member, you don't get to vote, but you can get a water allocation if needed, if the project goes through at member rates, whatever that's established at, if needed. If you don't become at least an associate member and you decide 20 or 30 years down the road, we need water, then the rate you would pay for the water will be significantly higher than membership rate. So the committee has discussed this on and off for several months, almost probably 9 months or more. And we feel that at an associate membership rate of $375 a year, it would be an appropriate investment for the city. And if the way it works, if 1 year down the road, 2, whatever down the road, we decide this is inappropriate, we can stop. It's not a lifetime commitment, but we believe it is an appropriate and would be a wise commitment for the future of Hot Springs, and so we're asking that this be an agenda item for the next meeting for council to decide on.
Can I ask if the committee is concerned that we have diminishing local water supply or that we don't have sufficient water supply? Was that part of the discussion determining we should be part of this?
No, because our test of the Evans pumping station actually indicates that we have
sustainable water
we have
source?
A good water supply right now, and that's actually good enough that if we build a 3rd tank, we have adequate water that we could use our existing distribution system to fill that tank. This provides us, these are my words, protection from an unknown future risk. And I don't even want to say or I don't know what that future risk might be, but if something would either reduce our water supply or degrade our water supply,
They may or may not have water available because theirs is also based on projections, right? This isn't happened. This is something they're projecting to
This
be
is-
able to do, but may not ever come to fruition.
yeah.
It's a little insurance policy.
But your insurance policy is based on something that is not actually insurance yet.
No.
No, it's,
They're projecting
the
this may
project
happen.
is progressing, but it is not built. The plans are,
They're doing still like whether it's even feasible, right?
I think, I'm not sure, I think if
The cost to do it would be substantial.
If council would, if it would help council, we could ask Jim Jones to be at the next council meeting when we vote on this,
It'd be a good idea.
and he can give you the more specifics. I've heard a number of
I've listened to a
presentations
couple calls too, so.
on this. I'm not asking you to vote on something blindly, but again, he's been at a number of public works meetings, he's discussed it, and so as my final act as Public Works Chair, I'm relaying this recommendation, so.
Is that a prorated thing as an associate? When are they looking for a final date for those two that want to become part of this?
There is no final date yet.
The date to get in on as a member or an associate member is coming to a close, but they haven't set a drop-dead date.
So if council's looking for a guarantee, should we do this because we know we're not going to have water available, or they're going to have it, they'll have it available? We don't know 20 years down the road that our perfectly great water source right now is going to be a perfectly great water source. So when you talk about water to communities, you don't find much of anything that's more important. So for $375 a year to position ourselves with a seat at the table to be assured we're going to get some water if we need it. We've spent $375 more foolishly in a lot of places than assuring that we have a seat at the table for potential water if it happens and if we need it. And that's what it comes down to. There's no guarantee either way that our water sources continue to be as good in 20 years as it is now, or that water is going to be available to us if we need it. I agree with Bill. It needs to be in front of you folks to have a discussion. And I appreciate you mentioning that we should have Jim here to answer any questions. He's the best informed.
Okay. Under staff updates, under Public Works Engineer, we talked about the Valley View drainage update, and, the bid opening. And that's, so I think we got, I'm hoping Tracy understood the date change for the next meeting.
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned I was able to check what was sent to the newspaper for publication. It was correct. We just didn't get the correct notice in your packets, so
Okay.
we're good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Misty. Under the manhole, raising the manhole project, they're still working on plans of coordination. That's in process. Fire hydrant flow testing, there's no progress to date on that. Under streets and maintenance, broken curb at 19th and Washington. This item is being reviewed and considered for inclusion in the work list. Drainage from the fire department apron to the American Legion. This item will be assessed and determined if anything can be done. The surface in front of the fire station, hard paving will not be added to the work list. And for 2026 budget consideration, the crosswalk marking equipment and supplies. This item is being reviewed by the city administrator and streets to determine if it should be added to the 2026 budget, or if future budgets should consider contracting the application of vinyl markings. And there were no updates for code enforcement. Under committee member comments, the wastewater foreman informed the committee regarding of some needed repair work on the wastewater distribution system on the Gary Romey property. Next meeting will be Monday, July 28th, 1 p.m. Meeting adjourned at 1:54 p.m.
Any questions for Bill? Thank you. As I had mentioned when I was talking about committee assignments, there won't be any Southern Hills Advisory Committee reports. There'll be a season-ending meeting that we'll report on at that time. City Administrator, Jacqueline, do you have anything you want to share with council?
I just have a few things. So first of all, I want to say great job to the city employees for all of the preparation, some things on very short notice for this past holiday weekend. They did an outstanding job coordinating with the chamber and within their own departments to prepare for this weekend or this last weekend. And also for their outstanding job with the fireworks display and fireworks show. So they did a great job, and look forward to seeing it again next year. I hope that all of you were able to review the donation acceptance form that was sent out by Misty last week. This was a estimated value of $2,000 for the restoration of the steps out at Chautauqua Park. So if you'd been out there, there's been an orange snow fence around those stairs for the last 2 years. And this construction was done by Railhouse Construction and was for the labor and materials required to fix the sandstone steps at Chautauqua Park going down to the bridge that covers the water. So if you want to go take a look at it, the work looks great. And that's something that has needed to be done for a long time. So big thank you to Railhouse Construction. I think I just have 2 more things. If you see me at fewer meetings or I'm not there for the duration of the entire meeting, I just want everyone to know, especially with our new council members, that it's not a lack of interest and it's not a lack of me trying to make time for it, but as I'm finding myself to be more comfortable with my position, I am stepping back from certain meetings and going to be spending less time at those meetings. So if there's any information, obviously I'll catch up in the minutes and I'll try to make what I can. But if you see me at fewer meetings, it's not, again, a lack of interest or wanting to be there, but needing to utilize my time a little bit better in the office. And lastly, congratulations to our new council members. If you have any questions, and this goes for everyone too, any questions about employees or projects, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to meet with you and gladly willing to make time. So please feel free to call, text, or email me, and I will try to plan accordingly for it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Jacqueline?
I had a question. With the fireworks, were they able to complete everything before the storm hit?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody asked me if it was cut short because of the storm.
Yeah, to my knowledge, everything was completed. I know there were a few delays, and that storm moving in definitely could have thrown some things off, but I think our city employees pulled it off pretty great. So.
Okay. I wasn't able to attend, but
it moved in really fast.
Misty, Finance Officer report.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome to our new council members.
My monthly finance officer report provides you the following financials: our year-to-date profit and loss summary report, a fund summary report, which shows you the budget versus the actual for revenue and expenses year-to-date, the cash balance report, which includes the current balances in our Wells Fargo checking account for all funds, and then our investment reports by institution and type. In addition to the financials, I also take the opportunity to highlight some specific relevant topics in my monthly memos. It's definitely not everything that's going on, just things I want to make you aware of. Municipal financing can be overwhelming. Those of you that have served on council before, which includes pretty much everybody at the table, knows that. I aim to make it as transparent and pain-free as possible, and like Jacqueline, I'm available for questions anytime. I don't text you typically, but feel free to reach out to me at City Hall or by email if you have questions at any time. I did mention some notable law changes for our city effective July 1. That includes House Bill 1059, which defines the official meeting as a quorum discussion of public business via teleconference, email, instant messaging, social media, text messages, or virtual platforms. So changes in the way we communicate required some changes to law to make sure that it included all those forms of communication so that you are aware if you are in a group chat with 4 or more council members by text, that's considered an official meeting. And those are some of the changes in the new updated open meetings guide that you reviewed at this meeting. House Bill 1218 prohibits municipalities from imposing firearm regulations on employees, officers, or volunteers while in any municipal building, facility, or vehicle. We're still waiting for some additional guidance on that before we make any changes to our personnel policy, but that is a new law that was effective July 1st. House Bill 1259, which requires municipalities to designate all multi-occupancy restrooms, changing rooms, and sleeping quarters in city-owned or leased facilities for exclusive use by either males or females based on biological sex, and to take reasonable steps to prevent access by individuals of the opposite sex with limited exceptions. Senate Bill 37 removes the sunset on the 911 surcharge and keeps it at $2 permanently. Well, for as long until they change it again. I shouldn't use words like permanently, should I? Senate Bill 74 requires governing boards to review the open meeting law brochure annually in a public meeting and to document the review in the minutes. On June 26th, the Municipal League sent an email with some guidance, but as I mentioned, we're still awaiting some guidance from our insurer, the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, on the proper implementation of these changes. More will be shared when it becomes available. The list of ordinances identified by various committees as needing revisions has decreased significantly. Thank you, Jacqueline, for all your efforts and partnership on working through those many, many changes. The last ones I'm aware of at this time is for fire prevention with the fire department. I'm waiting to send the annual revisions to American Legal till we wrap these up. Usually I send them in June, but I haven't sent them yet because we've done so many and I don't want to do it in pieces because it's so very expensive. So when we wrap up this final ordinance, it's past the second reading and it's been published, then I will send the ordinances to American Legal for their codification and their updates. And I will report on the total cost for those updates when they're made available, which typically takes some time. We talked about our budget planning meetings, so I won't go into that. I would, though, like to remind you that they're open to the public. There'll be a short period of time dedicated for public comments on the agenda, but for the sake of time, we don't invite departments or organizations to come and make requests of the city during these meetings. I have requested department heads have their budgets back to me no later than July 11th, and in large part thanks to Jacqueline, we're on track to meet that deadline. And under the instruction of the mayor, we'll be meeting with the general fund department heads to review and modify prior to the council budget meetings. If you have any questions or concerns regarding the planned meetings or your availability, please let me know. The 2025 Elected Officials Workshop is scheduled for Wednesday, July 16th in Pier at the Ramkota Hotel and Convention Center. This two-day training is packed with sessions that are valuable to newly elected officials as well as those that have previously been in office. This year's topics include what is your role as a newly elected official, partnership for fiscal management, legislative update and lobbying 101, SDPAA/SDML work comp incidents, reporting and the claims process, ethics and conflict of interest, open government, public meetings, public records, and record retention, SDML, how can we assist you, cybersecurity training, AI training, municipal budgets and bids and contracts. That's a loaded agenda, and I almost want to go to this meeting myself because there's a lot of good topics on there. So if you're interested, please let me know. We're already past the early registration deadline, but we can register up until the 11th. So if you've not already, make sure you let me know if you're interested in attending. And then I'd like to take this opportunity to remind existing council members and to communicate with new members that a very important responsibility of yours is the review and approval of the claims. This task demands more than just your rubber stamp approval of the claims package. As a rule, a claim report should contain enough detailed information for you to make a favorable determination. Although finance reviews, audits, and enters the claims, the ultimate approval is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. We do not pre-approve or recommend the payment of all submitted claims. Ask if you're interested in knowing if we have any objections to any or if you have any questions after you've done your review. The council is both entitled and obligated to ask any and all questions necessary to be comfortable with approving the claims presented to you. There's administrative rules, internal and external policies, state and federal purchasing laws, and they all must be adhered to when we're spending taxpayer dollars. It's very important to remember that all of our purchasing happens in full view of the public. And again, I'm available to answer any and all claims, questions that you might have. And once again, welcome to our new members, and thank you to all of you for what you do to keep our city running. My door is open, and I appreciate all your questions and interest. Thank you.
Any questions for Misty? Thank you. A number of things. Deborah and Jacqueline have already talked about it. The city looked great for the all-class reunion. And the work that the city staff does to make these kinds of events happen is much like the iceberg. We only see the top, the cream of the efforts. We don't see all of the work that they put into behind the scenes and on a daily basis to present our hometown in a favorable fashion. So I want to thank them for that. The parade, our family happened to be down close to Ace Hardware, and the south end of town was just packed. I don't know what the north end was like, but Misty had said when she came through handing out candy, it was a huge success. So that's exciting. The fireworks that we had talked about, our oldest son and his wife were over for the all-class reunion. They're from Casper, Wyoming, and they had mentioned that the events that they attended over the weekend, and especially the fireworks, we go up to the library to watch the fireworks. That's just an excellent place to watch. And they had mentioned that overall, watching fireworks in Hot Springs was a much more pleasurable experience than watching fireworks in Casper, Wyoming. City much bigger than us, and we do it better than they do in our family's estimation. And I'm going to give them all the credit in the world for knowing what the right place is to be. So thank you for that. And then the last thing is that, again, a reminder for Ward 1. If you're interested in filling the vacancy, please submit your letter of interest by July 16th at 5 p.m. to City Hall. And that's all I have for you, unless you have any questions for me.
I do. We had to suggest to the library to change dates on watering, not having it on the 4th of July.
Actually, that was kind of fun. We reminded them based on what happened to us when we were up. to listen for the sprinklers, and if you hear them, you need to get up and move very
Run.
quickly. And we got up and moved very
I was
quickly.
up there too, so.
Yeah, so, well taken.
Like a sports event.
Any other questions?
I would mention that our bid board did contribute $10,000 towards our fireworks display this year, so that was a $15,000 firework display that you saw. So thank you to the bid board for contributing to that, because the city struggles every year to balance our budget, and fireworks are one of those things. So that support allows us to continue to grow this awesome event that people from all over are making part of their celebration plans for our
Hopefully, the drone pilot will make some footage available.
It looks pretty good so far. I got to see a sneak peek of it. Think you'll be pleased.
It'll be cool.
All right.
And kudos to Ellsworth for the B-1 bomber. Somebody ought to thank him. That's fantastic.
That's right on time.
My dogs didn't appreciate
I'll
it too
bet.
much, but I
I bet
thought
a lot of dogs didn't, but we
They
all
must-
noticed.
They must have had the brakes on. It's going pretty slow.
It was cool.
Yeah, the spot that Jane and I typically watch the fireworks from, we used to be up there alone, and it's getting crowded. And
That's great. for
so either others are finding or more people are coming to town, and we could see the bypass, and the bypass was literally lined with cars. So
It was a busy week.
it seems like a lot of folks are coming. We watched the parade from River Street, and driving through town, I just echo what everybody's saying. The town was packed. It looked great. It was a wonderful thing to see, and not a traffic cone in sight.
that was kind of nice.
That was wonderful.
We do need a plaque on our new suspended sidewalk that explains the design of the towers and what they are promoting, because it's a nod to the railroad that went through there. Those are supposed to be railroad ties that are holding up our suspended sidewalk. And everyone said, is there anywhere that says that? I'd like to read a plaque, I'd like to see that. So we need to be thinking about getting a plaque to explain the history
The reason I
involved with
asked,
that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's
But the
okay.
reason I asked Linda about the wraps
Oh, okay.
was if you guys are just doing designs or whatnot, but it should be kind of neat for some of those to say, with a design on it, some of the history of our community. Because they're at different spots. If you're going to enhance those, wouldn't be a bad idea for you to have something periodically to say about some of the history of our community. So, because this 4th of July, we had friends and family from 5 different states come. And 2 of them, I was very surprised because I know they put on very good 4th of July shows in the states that they live. But they said this was the most positive one they went to. Just shy of the sprinklers, that's how I said. They said it was kind of like an exercise. You have to jump up and run right away, but other than that. But yes, I just thought it would be neat even if it was just a little portion of it that would actually give some of the historical things that's gone on in our community to pass that along. For folks that are walking the streets and coming to see. Like you said, nobody really probably knows about the railroad part, and all that has
Yeah,
kind of been
because
gone away.
that history, I don't think very many people nowadays realize that there used to be a railroad that
Went
came
right-
through town.
Right through the middle of town.
Yeah. And of course, we have the depot there, and I guess I need to go down there and see what actually, if they have any information at the depot about that.
A lot of people don't even know that our park had a horse racing rink.
Yeah.
And
I remember
those are things that
And motorcycles. I got pictures of motorcycles racing there.
there is a lot of history in this community a lot of folks don't know about. So that's why I asked you about the wraps, what actually you were talking about.
Yeah. I thought at one point Caitlin was going to have like a contest going to have people submit their ideas for the wraps, for the designs, and I don't know what's going on about that.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, second. That's supposed to be me, but I forgot.
You haven't been here for a
Discussion?
while.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Have a good evening, everyone.
Craig, thanks for the reminder. I won't